the Gentlementor.
Mm, All right, what's on your mind?
Nothing. I emptied it.
Great.
I got everything out of it, and now it's all better.
Awesome. Trying to look at some thoughts here.
Oh, looking at thoughts. I'm trying to think. Was there anything philosophically intriguing that has gone on in the last 48 hours? I don't know. I just feel like I just spent the weekend just like puking thoughts onto you, and I'm spent.
I don't know. We got a couple of good ideas. It seemed like for
We always do.
products. For products, it seemed like we oughta make one of them. I was thinking about the Roomba character. What if we made costumes for your Roomba? So you could have a Christmas Roomba.
Right, like the little
You have a
flag,
fourth. You know, a
like we
little
talked
Fourth
about
of
doing
July.
your door. Interchangeable seasonal doors.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. But there's costumes for your Roomba, so you can have a little flag on it, or you could have a little
Right.
elf on the elf on a
Right.
Roomba.
Elf on a Roomba. Little Christmas tree action. Maybe a menorah.
Yep. Ooh, there
A
you go.
turkey.
Turkey. Yep.
uh,
Yep.
You know. Um,
Rabbit ears. So here coming up in a few weeks, we can put
for
some rabbit ears on.
Easter. Nice.
Yes.
Yeah. Or you could have
Could do
like
like this.
some kind of maybe a Christian theme thing. You have like a crucifixion scene or something, or maybe you have something like get a little cave, and the Roomba could be in there, and Jesus could be on it when he come out of the
The Roomba
cave.
can be vacuuming the key.
It's
The empty
Easter.
tomb.
Jesus rode the Roomba out of the tomb,
Not only is it an empty tomb, but it's a clean
and
tomb.
it's clean. That's
and
how
it's clean.
that's how the sheets got folded.
Right. The Roomba. I was thinking of something on the way home, and then naturally I get into conversation with you, and I'm like, what was that I was thinking about? I don't remember.
You got to write this stuff down.
I know. Well, I was driving. I should have just called you.
There you go. Breathe on the glass.
It's probably what I should have done.
Yeah.
I was thinking, how can we help? How can we help people? How can we help men? I was thinking about what you were saying.
We should do a podcast.
That's what we're talking about. I was thinking about what you were saying about how a lot of men just don't have the ability just to sit and chit chat with another man
Right.
who will be uplifting, who will be truthful, who will be a friend to them, and let them whine, let them leak a little bit, but then all right, it's time to shut your mouth, it's time to shut your trap. I'm trying to think about this and move forward with this, and I forgive you for that. I'm not judging you for this, and how a lot of men don't have that, but yet when I was thinking about what you were telling me about a few of your friends, that it seems like sometimes, and I realize now too that I have some guy friends that are that way too, that they almost feel intimidated by that you have with someone else. So you and I have this thing going on, and then all of a sudden it's like we need more people to join. That's what I was talking to you about. It's like let's get a few other voices in here. Let's talk. Let's chat this out. Let's hear another perspective on some of the things that we talk about. And then all of a sudden it's like all these guys are like, oh no, I don't want to intrude on that, or I don't feel like I have anything to contribute, because I went through that phase. You remember I went through that phase when you were here, and I was like, I just don't have anything good to contribute. And not that I necessarily have changed my mind. It's just I feel like
You're
together
willing to try.
I'm willing to try, and together I feel like I'm just a little bit more productive, when I'm not by myself.
For sure. We had a long, ongoing kind of, conversations that we have over the period of a relationship. I don't know what you call those. They're more than conversations, but it's like a conversation broken up over the lifetime of a relationship, in which we talk about, what did you just say?
About having a man to talk to, another guy. That's,
Yeah.
And then we want all those other voices to join those other perspectives, but some men are almost intimidated by that what we have together.
Okay. The sum of creativity is most frequently like
The creative thing
I
was the last
feel
thing I said, yeah.
doing creative things as part of a co-op rather than individually. I believe, and I don't always like to do that way. It's more expedient for me to do it by myself. It's easier, it's faster. I can do it the way I want. But the quality of the overall product seems like it always is better if I work with someone else,
Okay.
working in a group, working in a tandem.
Okay.
And it's easy to work in a two-person tandem. Like any of these people, the friends gang or whoever you want to call, I can call any of them up, say, let's go XYZ, and we will work out a way to do it or do something. But just like you said, when we went, oh, well, let's have somebody else in, well, and some of that we've talked about, like the intimidation, fearfulness thing. And some of it
Yeah.
is that there's a weird, like a dude thing where it's like, I don't know. It seems like women are cool doing stuff in like groups of 5 or 6, but dudes prefer one and two.
Right. Women will all go to the bathroom together.
Absolutely.
Yes. Men are like, "Mm, no, I'll be right back." Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when we're in there, we don't talk to anyone. We don't look at anyone. Yeah.
Hopefully.
But then our wives come out. Yeah. Then our wives come out of the restroom. It's like, oh, I want you to meet my new friend Sally, and I met her, and this is her
Oh,
three
yeah.
kids, and this is her husband, and they live so and so, and they've been here, and you're like, you did all this in the bathroom? I
She
don't.
passed
Yeah.
me an ink pen under the stall, and I just,
A Sharpie. Are you putting your number on the wall? No,
uh,
it's yeah. So okay, so and when you're saying this, I was thinking, okay, so
there's
scripture.
a weird social mechanism that happens with dudes. Like if
There
two
is, there
two
is.
dudes get together, you can talk about anything, you can say anything, and then you add a third dude, and suddenly this kind of part of a wall comes up. You add a fourth guy, and it turns into like a comedy show. Nobody's going to talk about anything serious or substantive if you just let it go. I mean, if you're not directing a conversation, trying to
Right,
make
right,
people,
right,
let's have this conversation.
right.
So you're just like socially doing it. The more guys you have, the less like I don't want to say less real, but it's going to get more surface.
You're right, and it turns out to be more of a cockfight than it does anything else. Yes, and not not a not a collaboration
Right, right, right.
of ideas and thoughts and creativity and encouragement, whatever. So, and that's the thing. And you were talking a minute ago, and I was thinking, okay, Scripture says it is not good for man to be alone. Now, okay, I'm going to take that way out of context because that Scripture probably does not
Would you
belong.
please?
I would please, because that Scripture probably does not deserve to stand out on its own by itself. Jesus wept. A lot of times we pull that out and it stands alone by itself. For God so loved the world that He gave His only Son. We don't talk about John 3:17 because it goes with it. But anyway, so do you think that's what we still battle today? Kind of going back to what we were talking about. I think I was listening to the one of our previous conversations about Adam's biggest sin was, not that he ate the fruit, but maybe that he didn't put up a fight. So do you think that?
Said,
Do you
hey,
think
baby,
that?
let's put this back on
Yeah,
the tree.
baby, let's put this back on the tree.
Quoting
So do you,
Kanye now. Here I go again, quoting Kanye.
do you think that? Do you think that's probably our instinct is to be more alone? Even it's like you and I are alone right now, but it's not good for men to be alone. And I know that in the context of I shall create a woman for him, a wife, a helpmate, and then whoa man, here he is after he fell asleep and God did a number on his rib. So what
Who stole my ribs?
what is yeah, don't steal a
I had
man's
a whole
ribs.
plate of ribs waiting right here. I woke up, and one of them's gone. I think there's what would you want to call it? A small amount of that is natural, biological to the male, and that's just part of
Wanting
that.
to be alone, wanting to be
Not
the
not
alpha.
Yeah, not wanting to be alone, but the feeling that I need to be in charge. When you're with a group
Yeah.
or you're with your family or whatever, there's a sense that I'm the dad, I'm the man, I'm the guy who's leading the thing, and so in
Yep.
a sense, there's this idea that goes with it, that part of that, and some of the pride and the ego of being that person that go with it. Yeah, they're in there, but then we have this entire like socio-cultural stack of bad pancakes that's stacked on top of it.
Yeah.
And this idea that a man has to be alone and a man never expresses his feelings and you should never this and you should always this and do this and don't do that and all these kind of subliminal or not even subliminal cultural kind of attachments to that. This when they talk about toxic masculinity, those are the things I think of that are toxic. Things that are toxic to masculinity. Things that make masculinity feel like poison inside of you because it's like, I know I'm supposed to be this strong, stoic, I'm a
So I want to go. I
soldier.
want to go back to that. I want to. I want to have a quick refresher because you mentioned that to me the other day when you were here, and I'm like, okay, I don't know if I've heard you say toxic masculinity before. And you said they when they say toxic max. Who's they?
Oh,
What do they mean? What are they actually
there's,
meaning when they're saying
well,
toxic masculinity? Because then, like you just saying, I could take it a couple of different directions.
I think the best way to probably look at it or understand it, at least in the context that I mean it, is if you can remember a couple years ago, the big razor blade commercial that came out.
From Gillette,
Yes, yes.
can we say that?
There is a, and I won't put it political. I'll just say there's a cultural push. There's a faction of people within our culture that want to poo-poo everything masculine as being toxic. That
Ah,
everything about being a man is toxic. It's evil. It's impure. It has, we're the patriarchy. We're the supremacists of whatever variation you want to pick.
hmm
We're the the
oppressors of women.
the colonizers
Yes.
of peoples of color, and men, and especially white men, are just the personification, the embodiment of evil among humanity, and everything that smells male must be stomped out. And it's like, that's never a
So
good
what is
strategy.
you'll have to help me with the commercial. What did the razor commercial have come in?
Well, the Razor
I may not have
commercial
seen
is
that.
kind of like a big, stupid coloring book picture of this whole thing, where it kind of took a lot of examples of, oh, these boys are roughhouse, and then it's just boys doing it. It's like, you know, I know you want to say that that's toxic masculinity, but that's part of being a dude.
Yeah.
It's learning that you can roll around and wrestle with somebody and be rough, and you can still be affectionate with them afterwards and have a relationship with them. Every fight doesn't have to be to the death, and there are ways that we struggle with one another in life, and this is like a picture of it. You don't have to disassociate or hate someone because you've had a struggle with them. You can struggle with them, and it can be part of the game is probably a little too much, but everything that men
It's
do like that is
right. It's
not
part
a
of life.
bad thing. We've talked before about the whole the rape culture, Me Too, and all that stuff with sexual harassment.
Hmm.
And sexual harassment's always bad. It's never an excuse. Always bad. Never an excuse. It's always bad, and it's never an excuse. But there,
But but
don't watch last week's episode. Uh, at the same time, we have to recognize that a certain amount of that is biologically based. That men have a sex drive.
hmm
Biologically, it's
hmm
science. Trust the
hmm
science that gives us the biological urge,
you're giving me mixed signals here.
the imperative to continue the species.
Hmm.
Part of that is the what do you want to call it? The courtship and mating ritual that all
Yeah.
species have.
Right. Right.
Part of it that's in our biology. Now, if we cannot be masculine in a positive way so that we can guide young men when those urges come into their life and tell
Right.
them, here's how you deal with this. This is going to be a part of your life from now on. You're going to have this urge, but you are not an animal. You cannot go out there and just do whatever you want with whoever you want. If we don't have a good masculinity, a non toxic masculinity, to deal with those urges and to instruct those young men, if we just get rid of everything masculine because it's bad, what's going to happen? Are they going to learn to control those urges? Are they going to sublimate those urges? Or are they just going to do whatever they want? Well, they're probably going to do whatever they want because at the same time, our culture gives them the toxic masculinity message. It also tells them, don't worry about it. You came from monkeys. You're just an animal too. You don't have any control over your urges. So,
That's
so that's the problem. You want to fix this problem, and this is the problem of the current culture, is that we want to fix problems by getting rid of them. And very few of these problems are things you can get rid of. And what you
right.
do is force somebody to hide. And if you cause someone to take something and make them feel ashamed with it and force them to hide with it, it's going to produce bad stuff.
Yeah. But we
And
want
if
to medicate it.
Yeah. So you take half of the entire humanity, because about half male, half female, and you tell them you're all bad. You're going to have to stop acting that way. When a lot of that behavior, not all of it, but some of it is rooted in biology. So what
Sure.
do you tell them? Well, I can't fix this. I have to be ashamed of it and I have to hide this.
Right. Yeah. So what we need is we need an antidote masculinity, not anecdotal, but
Yeah. Non
a
toxic.
right, not toxic, but a masculinity that heals both the men and society and heals each other. That's really what we need because it's not working the other way. We're not going to we're not going to legislate the man out of the man, out of the men, or legislate the man into a unified species with because it's just not going to
Yeah.
happen.
No,
It's not
cancel
going to happen.
culture won't do it. Nothing. No
Cancel culture.
mechanism can do it.
No, no. We have to learn to deal. We have to learn to understand and accept and then deal with it. So,
Yeah, we got to have some realistic goals to start with. But yes, there are ways, and that's why I try to, when I talk to people, the first and foremost thing that I try to relate to them is you're okay, because most of us don't feel like we're okay.
right,
Most of us feel like we're bad and we're wrong,
right,
and something's wrong with us, and we don't
right,
fit in here. It's like that's all true, but there's nothing wrong with you compared to the guy next to you.
right.
You know,
But
we're all
that's
all
hard to
humans
tell
in a
some.
human situation.
That's hard to tell someone when they're scrolling through social media and
Word up.
they're comparing their life to someone who's fit, who's sexy, who's on a yacht near an island, yeah, and got, whatever and
I'm
showing their
on a
bling and
yacht.
yeah. That's hard. It's hard to help someone with that when they just are completely enthralled and comparison is killing our peace. Comparison is killing our who we really are. Comparison is just
Comparison
killing.
is the thief of joy.
Yes, the thief. Not a. I wouldn't call it a thief. I would call it a murderer. Because I really do. Because at least a thief has got it somewhere, and sometimes you can chase that
You
thief
might be able
down
to
and
get
get
it
it back.
back.
Yeah, you might be able to get it back. But I think we're at a point now where it's hard to get it back. We're gonna have to trust in God to get it back. We're gonna have to try. You're gonna have to get some new joy.
It's a fearful
It's a
time.
new
It makes
joy.
me so aggravated that we've come to this place, and I've screen captured a couple of memes in the last couple of days that touch on this idea that this, and of course, from a Christian perspective, we understand that there's problems with fear, but the world doesn't understand that there's a reason you don't want to be afraid.
Yeah,
There's a reason that it's bad for you to live in fear. It has an impact on your life.
a long
People
list of
people are
impacts.
just they're drowning in it
Yeah,
and they don't know how to get out of it. And
right.
what they need is perspective. And what my hope is, yeah, it's hard to get that message to people who are flipping through social media. But I have to borrow the old, I hate to do it, the old, even if it only helps one person, I'll do it. Through 2 or 3 or 4 years now of trying to do this through different forms, I have found people that want to hear that message resonates with.
Yeah, yeah,
And those are the people that somehow I've managed to strike up some kind of relationship with.
yeah.
It ain't going to be everybody because most people, like I said, they don't understand the situation they're in, that they're being, just constantly hosed down with fear to keep them manageable.
Right.
And it's only when people start to break out of that and, they're looking for that uncomfortable truth. They've had enough of the inundation of fear and they're like, I can't live like this. And their ears start to open and then you hopefully get an opportunity to, give them the message and go, hey, you can't.
But the problem, but today, the problem is now is that people have itching ears. They love
Mm.
drama, and a good story always has a really good villain. And so, if I'm the loudest voice in the room and I can make you the villain, everybody turns their head towards you. And all right, he's the villain. Let's all hate him.
Hmm.
And I'm not. If I'm the loudest voice in the room, I can direct that. I can make that whomever I want to. I got really choked up there. I don't know what it was,
Wow.
but that was
Take it
good.
easy, man.
It's,
Take it easy.
something stabbed an ice pick in my throat or something. Anyway, That's the thing. You got mainstream media, you got social media. They're all the loudest voices right now,
Right.
and people are just listening. And because we're so drawn to drama and a villainistic story, we villainize people and
Hmm.
not principles.
Cancel culture.
Cancel culture,
And
and
it's easy pickings.
sure it is, sure it is, because now we can point at them. We can turn the attention towards that person,
Hmm.
what they've done, and not the principle behind the idea. And it doesn't cause you to look at me and judge me, even though I'm doing those things to not me personally, but the people who are the loudest voices, I guess,
Right.
is what I want to say.
Well, that's the culture we've come to live in, and especially, I mean, if you haven't seen it in the last 4 years, you're never going to see it.
Yeah.
But still, even at the end of all of that we've been through, there's a segment of the population that is more than happy to keep their face on the screen, locked in and eating the diet that they're being force
Yep.
fed.
Yep. Yep.
And I hate to use the overused analogy of the Matrix, but yeah, I mean, there comes a point where you've had enough and you rip that hose out of your neck and the big thing out of your, and you go, I've had enough of nursing on the swill. And reality may be hard and cold and ugly, but it's got to be better than this because it's just the constant, 24 hours of bleakness, um, and every ridiculous thing that goes on.
Man, how prophetic was the Matrix in its time?
Word.
Because if we want a woke society, that's what we ought to wake up to and realize, yeah, reality is not as pretty as it seems.
Yeah.
And I'm being fed this.
I,
I'm
I
being tube
invite,
fed this.
if you're into the prophetic, the accidentally prophetic,
Accidentally.
I invite you and anyone else who has an enjoyment of history to go check out George Washington's farewell address.
Oh, really?
Go read that sometime.
When he talked about not having two parties, right?
One of many things he mentioned. That's the part that always stuck in my head, and I've told people about for years. I went back a couple weeks ago and found it and read it,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of stuff in there, and it's like, oh wow, oh wow, and he touches on a lot of stuff we're experiencing right now.
So, do you think anything could be accidentally prophetic?
That I don't know. I'm inclined to doubt it. I say accidentally prophetic because it wasn't like he was standing up going, "Thus saith the Lord." It was just him going, "Hey, I'm getting ready to head home. Before I leave, I wanted to tell you guys a few things that
Right. Well, I don't. I think,
here's some things I'm concerned about."
and I think
Probably
those.
much like the original prophets. You don't get a lot of "Thus saith the Lord" when you
No,
read
no,
through the
no, no.
prophets.
That's our modern Christian culture
Heretic.
that has done that to us. Um, yeah, I don't think that was really something you would see in
It's
the Old
it's
Testament
it's
or even
it's
the New.
it's jaw dropping in certain aspects
Yeah,
because he's like he's dead on the money.
yeah, yeah. Well, we're years away from normalizing some of these things that we're so frightened of, 10 years ago. We're so far off base. I don't think it's hard to zero in back to where we are. It's like a spacecraft that's completely spun out of control, and no, you've got to have advanced electronics to get control that spin, and it's got to counteract that, and we just don't have that right now because we enjoy the spin. We're enjoying the ride. Sadly enough, I think there are a lot of people, just too many people, enjoying the ride. And yeah, we all know how that happens: crash and burn, or how it ends: crash and burn. Yeah.
The Gentlementor.